Well, good evening and welcome back to Rainbow Investing, where we examine a spectrum of ideas to increase your long-term wealth. Now, tonight I thought I'd do a little bit of a different video, and it's all about getting a house deposit together. Because as many of you know, it's actually quite a definitive issue for our generation in particular. With house prices being so high, especially in our capital cities, there's been a lot of talk about whether people from our generation will ever be able to afford a house. So tonight I wanted to just discuss this, talk about a few things and maybe how you might want to get to a house deposit. Because although it seems really unachievable, it really can be done if you really put your mind to it. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We normally do videos on personal finance and investing, so if that sounds like your kind of thing, make sure you join the channel. And also, if you think you'll find this video useful or are interested in maybe one day owning your own home, make sure you leave a like on the video. But let's get started. Okay, so when you're thinking about maybe saving up for a deposit, the very first step you have to think about is how much you will need to get there. So most properties require between a 10 and 20% down payment. So if you've got a fair idea of where you want to live, have a look at the prices of property around that suburb and have a look at maybe the top end of the scale and the bottom end and see where you might be able to afford. If the median house price in a particular area is $500,000, then you know you will have to aim for at least $50,000 to get a good deposit down. But just having a target there is a really, really important first step so you can actually see how your money is at the moment and what you need to do to get to where you need to go with that house deposit. Alright guys, so step number 2 is make a budget, because once you've got that target in mind for where you need to sort of get to with a house deposit, it's really important to actually make a budget, because that's when you can really work out when and how you're going to get there. Because if you're saving up for a deposit and you're serious about it, the very first thing you need to do is make sure that you're earning more than you're spending. Because if you're cash flow negative, you actually can't save money. It's just impossible. So I'd really recommend maybe drawing up like a monthly table and seeing how much is coming in and how much is going out. And maybe you need to make some changes to get to this, because if you're aiming for a $40,000 house deposit, it's going to take quite a while to save up. So really working out how much you can possibly save each month, maximize that number, and really work within a budget to get to that. Because although budgeting is boring and maybe you haven't really bothered with it so far, if you're really set on getting to a house deposit, you need to do this. Because the first step to hitting a financial goal, particularly a tough one like getting a house deposit, is actually mapping out how your money's coming in and where it's going out. And whatever savings you can get, either maybe bringing in some more money or spending a bit less, it will help you get there faster and it will help you to understand what you need to do to get to that target. Alright guys, so step number 3 is use bank accounts properly. Now this one's really important, because if you're saving up over 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, then you need to make sure that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck when you're storing your money in a bank account. Because even though bank account interest rates are quite low at the moment, it would really make a big difference over that amount of time, and particularly as you're getting more and more money in, that you make sure you're getting the best interest rate possible in your money. Because there's a big difference between a 2% interest rate and a 0.01% interest rate that most checking accounts normally give you. Another option maybe is, if you're looking at saving up over maybe 5 or more years, is maybe using something called a term deposit. So if you don't know what a term deposit is, it's a kind of investment vehicle that banks offer, and how it works is you give your money to the bank and they actually get to lock it up for a set amount of time. It could either be 3 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, but you actually can't withdraw that money in that time without a financial penalty. But what that means is the bank will give you a higher interest rate than just a savings account. So you might get a 2.9% interest rate on a term deposit instead of a 2.4% on a savings account. So if you've got a long-term goal for a house deposit, say 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, using term deposits might be a great way to increase the money that your money is earning while you wait. Because every $1,000 you have in a savings account at a 2.5% interest rate means an extra $25 every year. So that means with $10,000, it's $250. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot better than getting almost nothing with a checking account. And if you can use term deposits, then you might be able to get a few extra $100 every year while you save for your house. And that's money you don't have to work for. It's earning interest by itself. So that can really help get you over the line when you're saving up for a house deposit. Alright guys, so the next step is do some research. So if you're actually serious about saving up for a house deposit, you need to understand what you're actually doing. I'd recommend maybe watching a few videos on real estate investing, maybe reading a few books, just understanding what the process is to buy a house, how it works, and how not to be financially disadvantaged by buying a house. Because a lot of people have said that one of their biggest mistakes they've made in their life is buying the wrong house. Because for many people, buying a house is the biggest financial decision you will make in your entire life. So it's really, really important to get it right. Because if you get it wrong, it can really set you back a long, long way. So have a think about what kind of suburb both that you're living in now and maybe you'd like to live in. Have a look at the kind of properties that are in that suburb. Be realistic about your income. Maybe you'd love to live in an area where you just can't afford, and buying a house there would be a big mistake. Think about whether you want to start a family and whether you'd like to stay in that particular house for 5, 10, 15 years. Because a house is a long-term decision when you buy it. It's a long-term asset, and you need to be very, very careful and make sure you do your research. Understand how loans work, understand how home loans work and mortgages work, because it's a huge, huge financial commitment that you're thinking about making, and it's really important that you make an educated and well-informed decision before putting your money on the line. Alright guys, that leads me to my last point, be realistic. Because buying a house is a very, very emotionally fraught topic. It's a very, very old-fashioned idea that owning your house is an investment. Because really, a house is not really an investment if you live in it. Because by definition, an investment is something that puts money in your pocket, and a house does not do that. It actually takes your money and puts it in the bank's pocket. So for a bank, you getting a home loan is an investment because they make money from you on a recurring basis. But if it's your house, you're not paying rent, but you're paying the bank every week to live there. If you can't find a house in a suburb that you want to live in, then it's okay not to worry about it. There's nothing wrong with renting. As long as you're investing in something, as long as you're putting that money that you might have been putting towards a house deposit into something that's actually an investment. Maybe you want to buy an investment property. Maybe you want to buy some shares. You know, those actually, for a lot of people, might be a better use of their money than buying your own home. Because a home is a huge financial drain on you for many, many years, and it's really important to get it right and work out whether it's the best financial decision that you can make at that very point, because you don't want to get locked into something that you'll later regret. So there's nothing wrong with being realistic and maybe thinking that a house isn't for you. If you really love living in Sydney and you can't imagine living anywhere else, maybe a Sydney house is out of reach for you right now, but that's okay. You don't have to buy one. You can be very financially sound and successful without owning your own home. As long as you're making sure that you're earning more than you're spending and you're putting some of that surplus into things that will make you more money in the future, like maybe an investment property or maybe some shares. Because you can buy an investment property in a suburb that you would never want to live in. It's just how it works, you know, there's nothing wrong with that, and it might be a better use of your money. So be realistic about whether owning your own home is the best priority for you right now. Alright guys, there you have it, my 5-step guide to saving for a house deposit. I hope you found this useful. If you have, make sure you leave a like on the video. And if you haven't, of course, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll be back soon with some more videos, but for now, good night.